Scarlett Johansson's dad is just like that white guy who can't fit into a thing, and it's like funny, you know. But we don't get to have like Bobby Lee's never gonna play a funny Asian dad. If he played Shang-Chi's dad, that would be hilarious. And welcome back to another episode of Asian Not Asian Podcast, a podcast where two Asian guys not from Asia talk about American issues no American cares about. I'm your host, Fumi Abe.
And I'm Mike Nguyen.
Today is July 17th, and I'm coming at you live from the hallway of the Park MGM Hotel in Las Vegas. And there are people around me cleaning and working, and they don't know what's going on. So
I feel that, Fumi, you're just in the hallway of this like large resort in Las Vegas, and like I swear to God, some fucking tourists are going to be like, "Yo, what's this? Oh, this must be some sort of weird. Is this a Jabberwocky? Is this one of the Jabberwockies?"
They start giving me money.
They start giving you money. Whoa, I didn't know they did a podcast. This is cool. Look at that,
you know
honey.
What? It's just funny. For a second, I felt embarrassed doing that intro in front of these two people like cleaning. They did not give a fuck about me. They could not give us. This is a guy doing a podcast is probably the least weirdest thing happening in Las Vegas.
Yeah. Yesterday we had a guy doing a podcast and he was taking a shit. So you know that's worse. At least he's not taking a shit. So
my
that's cool,
gosh.
man. That's cool.
I know.
Yeah.
So welcome, listeners, ANOs, as we call you, Asian Not Asian listeners, of course. And if you're a iTunes listener or iPhone listener, please leave a review on your Apple Podcast app. And if you're listening to this on your phones, please take a screenshot, post it on Instagram stories, and tag us at Asian Not Asian Pod. We love it when you do that. This is the first remote session we've done in a minute. I am away, and because I'm away, Mike, you had to do Hack City solo. You had a sub guest, and you did it with go ahead.
I did it with Youngmi Maya from Feeling Asian. It was awesome. It was kind of like a nice Feeling Asian / Asian Not Asian crossover thing. Brian Park, beautiful Brian Park, was there as well, and he did stand up. He hadn't done stand up in a long time, and he got back into the game. At one of the best fucking shows in the city, by the way. But you know, he did it, and it was funny. There's always like there's so many fans, and it's so nice to talk to everybody. But a funny thing happened. I was coming out of the green room. You know, this is after the show. You know, we all take our pictures, and everybody's like, the audience is filing out, and there are two like blonde Asians, right?
Oh yeah,
like they're waiting, and this is the look now. Okay, it's the young Asian people. They look like pixies, okay? They look like they look like fairies. You know what I'm saying? They look like Rainbow Bright. That's the look. That's how cool Asian people look now. And there's these two, and they're looking at me, and I'm like, oh, maybe they want to say hi. Nope. They go right around, and one of them, I was like, is this the person who is also the host of Dumbfounded's podcast, Fun with Dumb, and he's got another podcast host. Geez, what's her name? I want to find this. I'm sorry.
Are you sure it was her? You knew it was her?
I am sure. Sure because Youngmi told me later.
Oh, gotcha.
And anyways, so she's there and her friend. I didn't want to say if it was her or not. In my mind, I was like, you know what? Maybe she's just another cool Asian. But she sees me for a second, and then she just goes beeline right around me. Starts talking to Youngmi. And dude, it was like, Youngmi has blue hair now, so it's like a blue hair Asian with two blonde hair Asians. And it's
God.
It's like they were a coven, bro. It was just like, they were comparing like horoscopes and shit. It was like so cool. And then they were talking to Joel Kim Booster, which, hey, you know what? I respect that. Joel Kim Booster's awesome. Yeah. And he was our headliner. So
I told you this earlier. I was a little worried about the show because, people who listen to the podcast, they think you're very cool. But I think a lot of that is thanks to me, who I'm not very cool, and you're just always next to me. And relatively speaking, you know, you are very cool because I'm just out here wearing a hoodie that was popular 7 years ago. But when you're hanging out with young me, she's very cool. And so I just wanted to make sure like you were able to keep up vibe-wise. And I'm hearing that it was okay, but some fans were like, it's just so funny that you were ignored because like it's your goddamn show, it's our fucking show. Your name and face is on the flyer. It's kind of like if you were headlining, I don't know, Madison Square Garden.
Yep.
And then somebody it just goes past you and says hi to the opener or something.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. Just I'm like one of these people cleaning in the hallway where you are.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah,
a
yeah,
guy.
yeah, yeah.
You don't
I'm just
even
a
know.
guy.
So yeah, it was. I ain't shit. I know. You know what?
You
I
ain't
respect
shit.
that.
Yeah.
This person's name is Steffi Pack, I think is her.
Oh, okay,
Pack
okay,
is her
okay.
name. Very cool. I would love to have talked to her.
Please be my friend. This is why we're not cool, man.
But you know what? I respect it because you know what? You put me in my place. Okay, straight
Yeah.
Asian guy.
Yeah.
Uniqlo energy. All right,
Uniqlo
that's
energy.
us. Uniqlo energy. And that's what you do to Uniqlo people. all right?
I
You
gotta
just-
say, getting ignored at your own show / party that you hosted and put together is the most straight Asian guy thing ever. You know
Yes,
what I mean? That's
100%.
that's
Yep.
that feeling is ours. So I'm
Yep.
glad you went through that. I'm glad she put you in your place. That's just what it is. Before we start the show, we want to give a shout out to our newest Patreon subscribers. What is Patreon? It is the best and easiest way to support our podcast. As you know, we are an independent operation. We're not with a network. And if you want to support the show, please go to patreon.com/Asian.AsianPod and you can give us your money. There's like different subscriptions. It's like monthly subscriptions. So you can get $5, $10, $20, whatever you want. And with different tiers, you get like bonus episodes. We slide into your DMs. You get to join a secret Facebook group and talk to us. And it's a good time. For some people, we do like monthly Zoom hangouts if you want to like get to know who we are as people. I don't know, some people are into that, you sick fucks. And so please join us. So these are the newest donors of this week. And as a reward, we try to guess your ethnicity purely based on your last name.
Yeah, man.
Here we go. Richard Kim.
Korean. Couldn't
Okay.
get more Korean. Yeah,
That's
this guy is
very
a
Korean.
pastor. Yeah, for sure.
Amy Yamagishi.
Japanese, right?
That's
Gotta
Japanese
be.
as hell.
Gotta
That's
be.
Japanese. I
That's
think we met her.
Japanese as
She's
hell.
like the cello player. We met her the other week. At the Zoom
Oh
hangout.
shit!
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes. Flexing with the cello. Yes.
Oh, we have a lot of Japanese people this week. I love that.
We do.
Nina Ichikawa.
Ichikawa. I think I know this person. If this is the person I think it is, then she's my friend. And she's. Let me tell you a quick story about what a badass she is. This is how I knew, and this is how I knew the kind of girl I wanted to be with. Because I was hanging. We're all hanging out. We're all friends, and we're at like a dance club. And and her husband is also kind of like also a Japanese dude. He's like a streetwear designer. Can't really hold his liquor. That's
Okay.
one thing. He
Okay.
can't.
Okay.
She can. She's mixed race, and
Okay.
she can handle her liquor. And we're all dancing, and he is like he's having a good time, but like almost at the point where he's almost kind of like he's kind of to fade. He's starting to fade.
Yeah.
She grabs his drink. She's like, hey, no, you know what? Let me hold your drink for a second. He kind of like looks away. She fucking like just like pounds it in one hit. Boom. And I was like, that is one of the sexiest things I've ever seen. That's how your woman is a good woman. If she sees you getting too
Struggling.
drunk, takes your drink, drinks it, not even like a boss, not a problem. So thank you very much, Nina.
I love that.
And yeah, it's
Nina,
she's
you
great.
are a alcoholic Japanese person, and we love that about you. Thank you so much for your donation. We got a couple more. We have Deanne Wong. Deanne. Deann.
DEA capital A. This is a tricky one.
I mean, Wong is Chinese, but Deanne.
Wong is Chinese. Deanne. That's an interesting one.
Is this
Southern? She's a Southern.
Oh, I bet her name is probably Deandra. That's
Whoa.
a Southern Belle. You're a Southern Belle Asian. You're a
Yeah,
Southern Belle
whoa.
Chinese woman. I love that.
Yeah, yeah.
And lastly, we have Hikari Matsuo. This is a Japanese as fuck, man.
This is a J-pop star.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Hikari.
Anyone?
There was
Hikari.
somebody. Oh, Utada Hikaru was the popular person back in the day.
Okay. Here we go.
Hikari, if it's spelled the way I think it is, it means light. It's really cool. It's a cool like it's a name that can be both boy or girl. I actually don't know if it's a boy or girl. It could be both.
interesting.
But it's a lot of times it's like the main character's name in an anime.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this is one of those Japanese people who is trying to catch them all. There you go. How about that? There you go.
Okay, and that's it for this week. Thank you guys so much for donating, and please go to patreon.com/Asian.AsianPod to join this game. Okay, story of the week before we bring up our wonderful guests of this week. I'm in Vegas right now, as I told you.
Yes.
And,
Hilarious.
holy shit! I haven't been here since I was like 10 years old.
Yeah.
And as I'm
So
walking
you've never been
around,
as like an adult. You've never been as an adult.
Exactly. And
Wow.
as I'm looking around, as I'm experiencing, I'm taking in the strip. I'm just like, why did my parents bring me here? Like, this is not
weird,
a good
right?
place for. It's not a good place for kids. It's.
Oh no.
When I was a kid, I remember this place being like very beautiful and like beautiful lights and fountains and all that. But like now,
Yep.
I've lived in New York for a long time, and I'm an adult. I know what other cities are supposed to look like.
Yep.
It's straight up trash, bro. It is straight up trash. It's like
it is a bad place.
I told you this earlier. Las Vegas is Times Square with a sprinkle of Coney Island, like the people of Coney Island. It is not good, dude. There's like kids out here taking pictures with like naked women on the streets because there's a lot of like kind of like they're not naked, but they got these like outlandish outfits on the streets, and they make money by taking pictures with you. I don't know. People here think they're really cool because they're eating at Italy. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
there you go. There you go.
It's
There's
like
a
that.
Shake Shack. Yeah, you're going to Shake Shack. There we go.
Exactly. And my problem is with it is I'm. I wish I came in my 20s because I went when I was like 10, and now I'm here in my 30s, and I'm too old for this. Like I'm jet lagged, and I posted a picture of this on my Instagram, but like I'm legit falling asleep. I'm legit falling asleep at like the blackjack table at the roulette slots, just like Japanese salaryman style, arms crossed. I'm drooling.
Yeah,
eyeglasses off. I'm drooling. I'm waking up with like a puddle of drool on my fucking shirt and getting kicked out. It's no good, man. We try to go. Oh, go ahead.
I saw that picture of you on your Instagram story of you like lying there, and I was like, 100% he's completely sober. He's not even drunk.
Oh no, I'm not.
You were just you were just sleepy, just a sleepy
I was just
boy.
Sleepy, dude. I want to go to bed by 8, but like the two friends I'm here with are like, I don't know. I think some people come here and they just want to do Vegas-y things, and one of those things is staying up until 4, even if you have nothing to do. But yeah, other than that, that shit sucks. But other than that, I'm having a good time. I think I forgot how, because I talk on the podcast a lot about like how I don't really hang out with my friends anymore, like my non-comedy friends. Yeah. And I'm here with my 2 high school friends, and this is kind of a nice thought. I think I forgot how funny my high school friends were.
Yeah, there you go.
And I forgot why I'm like constantly laughing. I'm laughing this whole time, and a lot of times in New York, I don't know if you go through this. I'm a comedian, so I should be laughing a lot. But a lot of times I'm working and I'm not laughing. And sometimes when I go to bed, I go, did I even laugh once today? I always ask myself that. And just being with my childhood friends, it's just like, it kind of reminds me of like, oh, I think this is why I kind of gravitated towards comedy, because I like this feeling of just like constantly fucking around.
I think too, there's like a whole thing where, your childhood friends, like the humor that you guys have is going to be different than like the comedy when when you get a bunch of comedians together and we just start riffing and we start doing the thing where we're like trying to top each other and stuff like that. What you got, that's what I call, or that's like organic food.
That's
organic.
What I'm saying?
It's small batch. Okay, it's made. It's like, hey, man, I brewed this joke at home, bro. You know what I'm saying? So maybe it's not completely like super complex or sophisticated, but you know what? It's real, bro. It's real.
It's not delicious. It's not ready for mass production, but it is delicious.
It is delicious. It is small. You're like, Wait, is that a Louis C.K. reference? That's really tasty. Well, we wanted to talk to our guest today about how he wears his fanny pack.
Yes.
Our guest today, I'm so excited to have this person on. He is a writer and film critic for the Los Angeles Times and a regular contributor to NPR's Fresh Air. He's also like my childhood friend, which is just
so crazy.
Probably his biggest credit, to be honest with you. All right, all right. Help us welcome Justing Chang.
Hello. Thank you, and that is my proudest accomplishment.
Yo,
wow.
Yes, absolutely.
It is. I mean, we got so much to do, but just very quickly, when's the last time you went to Vegas? I know you're kind of like a family man now, but I don't know,
It's true. The last time, it might have, speaking of which, it might have been for my bachelor party.
Whoa.
8 years ago.
That's not that long ago.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you?
Not too, yeah. I mean, it's. I can't believe when I say it that it was that long ago. But maybe I was back there, but I can't remember a more recent trip.
Do you did you do all the Las Vegas things? Like going to the club. All that shit. I can't imagine you going clubbing, dude. You're like
it was.
Yeah, bro. You're on NPR, man.
Tame.
Yeah, you're on NPR. Like, you can't go clubbing.
I feel like if you want to work at NPR, you're not allowed to go clubbing.
They'll do a background check. Yeah.
That was pre my NPR days, but yeah, it's
wow. I love that.
Well, yeah. I mean, let's get into it. I mean, the first thing is we're childhood buddies. You're much closer friends with my sister, and but I remember you, and you know now you're a film critic, and we're gonna talk a lot about your work there. But I always remembered you as being a very very smart person, and I always think like, oh man, you know, like, hey, you know what? We went to an affluent public elementary school. There was a lot of Asian kids. There were a lot of smart kids, but there was always like, you know, a couple kids who I felt were really really smart, and you were one of them. And you were in GATE, which is like the accelerated track. I don't know if you have something like that, Fumi. They call it GATE too. It's called Gifted and Talented Education.
Yeah, in New York it's called tracking. In Ohio it's called something else. But yeah, they put kids into like honors math or whatever from a young age. Yeah.
So we had tracking, and you were in it. My sister was in GATE, and I can't remember how I like got to this conclusion. Maybe it's because I always felt that you use really big words or some shit, and I was like, nah, this Justin guy's really smart. Yeah. Do you remember like all this? Do you get this sense?
It's very kind. Maybe it's kind. I don't know, because I used to get. There was the whole. They would say, "Oh, Justin reads the dictionary," or you know, Justin uses, you know, using those SAT words, which you know is understandable to get like in high school or junior high, because people are already thinking about, you know, SATs and college admissions. What bothers me now is when, you know, I'm 38 years old, when people tell you like, oh, you're using SAT words, like why is language an SAT thing? Shouldn't we try to use the most interesting words? More syllables the better. I mean, in school it was, and it's funny because your sister was you know, we were in all those GATE classes together, and honors and AP and all of that.
I remember testing for it, like I was like the top of my 5th grade class, whatever you want to say.
Hell yeah.
And
dude.
I remember them, exactly. They were saying, I was just like crushing it. So like they put me, and they were like, oh, we're going to give you the GATE test. So like, I remember for 3 days in the afternoon, it was like a one-on-one test. It was like this, like a assessor and me, and she was like giving me all sorts of things. And looking back, I wasn't sure how any of these measurements proved that I was smart or not. It was like, what is, what do you call a bunch of whales? You know, like what is that called? And then they gave me one where it was like there was this puzzle, right? It's like triangles and squares, and they give you just like a jumble of shapes, and they say, okay, make it look like this picture, like, you know, and it's you work on it, and it took. I remember that took me a long time for that, and my mom was very excited about me testing for this thing, and then finally she gets the call, and you're supposed to get like a 95 in order to get to GATE. I got a 90. And so I was like, oh, I'm not in GATE. So I just kept crushing it in 6th grade. But I was like, I am not as smart as these other kids.
Aww.
And the GATE kids, I swear to God, I mean, it wasn't like the kids were that weren't, you know, smart in my regular one. But like the GATE kids, they did like Shakespeare. They put on plays.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, see? They put on Shakespeare plays. I remember, Justin, weren't you in like something? You were in some shit.
Well, I was, it was not as highfalutin as Shakespeare. It was, I was Tom Sawyer.
Oh yeah.
Production.
Oh
Tom
wow.
Sawyer. It varied, but sometimes they would do. I think they did a Midsummer Night's Dream.
Midsummer Night's Dream.
You know, yeah.
These are like
which is a
fucking 6th graders.
elementary school friendly.
Oh my gosh. I just remember like when I was in middle school, you know, you say like, oh, I'm not as smart as you, but then again, you describe this test and it's like so fucking random. You know what I mean? It's not really a test of intelligence. It's just like, do you know what a unit of measurement for a bunch of, you know, whales is called or whatever? But it's funny because you know, at a certain point in middle school or high school, if you like certain art, then people think you're smart. You know what I mean? Like, so like if you're going to see Rushmore, I just assume you read a lot of books. You know what I mean?
Right.
That may not even be true, but I feel like there's a lot of that in high school. It's a lot of like image keeping. You know what I mean?
Yes, that's true. Do you have a beret? Do you not have a beret?
Yeah.
I don't remember Justin having a beret.
He doesn't seem like a beret guy.
No, you're not really a beret guy.
I did take, no, although I was one of the few who took French instead of Spanish.
Aha!
Oh, that's one of the things.
That's the beret, dude.
Well, it is one of the things, because, you know, and I remember people always, there was like, you know, everyone was taking Spanish.
Yes,
you know,
everybody's taking
California
Spanish.
high school,
Right.
It was considered
Exactly.
the most practical choice. And it absolutely was the more practical choice. But even then, kind of going back to the language thing, why do we have to make only practical choices?
Wow.
What if I just, you know,
Whoa.
why not?
Bougie.
Why not?
Wow.
Why not, you know, It's like, what if, I kind of wish that our school had offered, what if they'd offered Latin or something, which actually is a very practical thing in terms of understanding English.
Oh,
But
you would say that,
yeah,
yeah, liberal elite. Why don't they teach Latin? Oh, come on, yeah, baguette eating bastard.
I do love baguettes. I have I think I have a beret somewhere, but yeah, but no, it was, the early Francophilia kind of was already in evidence.
I bet,
those years.
I bet you got so many girls saying stuff like that. I'm so jealous.
Dude, you're just like, yeah. That was the other thing Justin was famous for.
Just the opposite.
Well, I remember you crushing it, and then you went on to college. You went to USC, and then like, how did you get into this? Because there was like, I feel with the tracking, right? All the kids in GATE and honors, it was like, okay, we're all gonna be doctors and lawyers. Okay, whatever. And then like everybody else is just like, I have no idea what white people want to do with their lives, but they somehow figure that out. But then I remember my sister telling me that you were like a film critic and you were like doing these things, and then you were a film critic for Variety for a little while. And I was like, holy shit, that's like a big deal. It's not just like I have a blog. You know what I'm saying? It's like that was the time. So I mean, how were you like, oh, I want to be, and you went to USC, so like, did you want to be a filmmaker? Did you want to be a writer? And then you kind of,
Yeah, thanks. No, all of that. I mean, whenever I talk about this, I actually do often give big props to my parents, because my parents, unlike a lot of Asian American parents, actually did encourage me to do whatever the hell I wanted to do. And my mom worked for more than 30 years in the medical field, and she actually kind of dissuaded me from saying like, you're not going to like this. You can't, no, it's just not for you. She knew me. And it's like, no, it wasn't even so much that I couldn't handle it, but she just knew this is not for everyone. And so why try to squeeze, square pegs into round holes or whatnot, so, and I always knew I wanted to be a writer. The film critic thing kind of, because I became really interested in movies and film criticism in high school. We talked about it. We were kind of realistic about it too, saying like, journalism, journalism actually was great. I knew I wanted to do some kind of journalism, possibly arts, entertainment journalism. Journalism I just always thought was a great way to hone your craft, to get published regularly. If you're going to be a writer, it's a very, you're not going to make a ton of money, but you are going to get a lot of practice, learn discipline. And so my mom was all for that. My dad too. So they, when I wanted to go to USC, and was fortunate enough to get a scholarship, so it wasn't that wasn't that expensive. And that's important because we didn't have a ton of money. So it just kind of happened, and they were like, sure, sounds great. And then even after I graduated, I was kind of like, I felt really guilty for not having a job yet. And they were like, don't, this is a different field. It's going to take a while. You're going to have to work your way up. So they were always really, really encouraging. And I really appreciate that, because they would actually get a lot of flack from some of their Asian friends when they told them, Justin, I want to be a writer. Who said and who would openly say to their face with no shame, saying like, why does he want to do that? He should be a doctor. And without being very polite, it was kind of like, I do have kind of a fuck you attitude, for just, even if you think that, just to, it really captures something of, I think, the proverbial Asian mentality that just, these things are understood. And I think this is, I don't say this a lot, but I feel very comfortable saying with you guys, this is a reason why I think sometimes we have our own selves to blame for our lack of representation, our representational issues. I actually do think if more of our parents, I mean, it's obviously there are, not to trivialize the systemic issues at play. Obviously, they're there. Part of those systemic issues is Asian parents who do not encourage their kids to go into the arts, to believe that they have a say, that they should have some kind of cultural stake in those things, and we should. And if we did, things would be better.
Justin, with the again with the big SAT words, why you got to stunt on us like that? Okay, you can just say that slaps. Okay, that's cool. Too. So then just to kind of like get into that a little bit more, when you were writing these things, did you ever feel like, I would imagine being a young critic, you're gonna have some doubts about your opinions. Should I be able to say this? But then on top of that, you're not seeing, you're an Asian critic. You're not seeing a lot of other. First of all, other Asian American journalists and critics, and then also just like you're not seeing a lot of Asian people, Asian Americans in the industry. So what was that dynamic like?
Yeah, I think I will say it's funny because as a critic, you want to project that authority for sure. I've often believed though that my ideal critic, and I hope that's what I am as well, although I don't always live up to that, is someone who marries humility and authority. I think those two go together. Starting out as a young critic, I was, whether I was a critic, capital C, or a reviewer, which is kind of the more, are they the same thing or are they different? I was just reviewing movies, and I was starting at Variety, and it was a great place to start and to kind of apprentice myself to the many critics who were older and much more experienced and much better than me at doing it. So I started off as one of many, and it wasn't like I started full time as a reviewer. I was a copy editor when I first got hired. I was actually an intern at Variety, and then I was hired as a copy editor, which was great. And I loved editing, and I loved kind of doing all the nuts and bolts of like journalism, kind of behind the scenes production and stuff. And then I was just writing on the side, and so it was, and I was getting a lot of the dregs, which was great. I reviewed a lot of the teen slasher movies, the Baby Geniuses sequels, the really bad kids movies.
What'd you think about Boss Baby 2, Justin?
Yeah, have you checked that out? Where does that fit in the canon? Yeah.
Having suffered through Boss Baby 1 for the LA Times, no less, I was like, I have paid my Boss Baby dues. I gladly passed on Boss Baby 2, but I'm sure it was a big improvement. But anyways, but maybe it's funny too. I mean, I have a 4-year-old who I think even she didn't want to watch Boss Baby. We like tried to. Well, why would I put it on for her? That would be child abuse. And I think she actually got scared of even the art for it. So we just breezed past it. But no, it was great. So when you're starting off that low, when nobody is really paying that much attention to what you're writing, and you can get practice, and you can kind of learn and Variety, being a Hollywood trade, it's not like you had, there was a certain formula to doing it, and that was actually really helpful. Because you wanted to write well within that formula, but it was just a great place to just learn the nuts and bolts of how to do it in a relatively unobtrusive way. And then when you got occasionally a big assignment, that was a really nice boost, and suddenly people start paying attention to you and what you have to say.
Shit.
What do you think, as a critic? Because I feel there's a lot of tension between critics and creators, and not, it's a lot of it is obvious. I think,
sure.
We have written down that you really have the chance to hinder somebody's success, right? As if with movies, with food, whatever it is, if you're a famous critic and you say, hey, this movie sucks ass, no one's gonna watch it. I apologize, I scored very low on the SAT verbal, so all I can say is sucks ass. I don't know any other words. Sucks ass. Anyways, so sort of like with that in mind, why do you think, being a critic, what do you think, like, being critics and their opinions, and maybe your opinion, why do you think it's important? Sure. And do critics still matter, since everything is sort of about user reviews now?
Yeah.
It's like, it's the question: did we ever matter to begin with? The question of our relevance.
I ask myself that all the time. Yeah, who cares?
And look, I know. No, it's true. We're long gone from the days of, like, say, the 60s and the 70s, when great critics like Pauline Kael and Andrew Sarris, and then followed by, of course, the most famous one probably ever to do it, Roger Ebert, who's now gone. And it's like, has anyone really assumed the mantle of that? Right. I don't think so. I don't think anyone has the power these days. I think that we could talk so long about what the internet has done for film criticism, for any kind of journalism. It's had that democratization effect that people talk about, which is both a good thing and a bad thing. I am just saying, I know that I have a very great and pretty, powerful platform in the LA Times, and I don't take that lightly. I'm very grateful for it. And that's the only reason people would probably pay attention to what I have to say. But that said, it's kind of, I sort of see myself as, when I'm writing, I think about my readers, I keep them in mind, but I'm also really I am writing for myself, and I'm trying to be as honest about my reactions as possible. And even though, yes, I'm a critic, I've been doing this for like more than 15 years now, which is kind of, oh wow, when I think about that. But so I've seen a lot of movies. I spent maybe more time thinking and reading and writing about them than the average moviegoer. That said, I never think of myself as smarter than the average moviegoer. I actually try to write for readers assuming that they are smarter than I am. They may not have quite the same maybe specialized film knowledge or taste that I do, but that's okay. But I am trying to write up rather than down, if that makes any sense. And as far as the whole kind of tension between critics and creators, I just have to say that we don't love everything. How could we? But we don't hate everything either. So I don't think that the kind of sometimes the stereotype of the grunchy, we're making up words now, the grumpy critic sort of looming over their keyboard and just kind of out to just destroy people's lives and reputations. I mean, that's not, it's funny because sometimes you will get, I think about this when I'm writing about independent films, films, especially by young emerging filmmakers, where your reviews, especially in Variety, which is sometimes, a big publication and one of the first to weigh in on a movie, you're, of course, I wish I could not think about those things, because if my goal is just to be as honest as possible, I don't want to think about the impact that my words could have, that, this could make a difference in somebody's paycheck or in somebody's career. I will say that I think there is room for kindness. I think there's room for, that, you don't want to be dishonest, but you don't need to eviscerate something unless it really, really is terrible and deserves it. And I do say that when I'm reviewing a big Hollywood blockbuster, it's not that I'm grading on a curve, but I feel a little bit less bad about it. Because there is a difference between soulless, overinflated crap that comes out of Hollywood and somebody's perhaps misguided independent film. There's just the stakes are different, the resources are different,
right?
And so I'm not grading on a curve, meaning I go easier on independent or art films, but how you write your argument, how you frame it, that of course is going to be a little bit different.
Yeah, that makes. Have you ever gotten flack from the fan base? You know what I'm saying? Like you go after fucking Spider-Man or some shit, and then all the Spidey heads are just like, yo, fuck Spidey you, head. I know where you live.
It's funny because you hear a lot of horror stories like that. Yeah. And, when, say, like The Dark Knight Rises comes out and there are death threats from all the Nolan fans. And by the way, I like Christopher Nolan a lot, and I like more of his movies than I dislike. But, and I always find that really appalling when friends and colleagues of mine get that kind of treatment. It's much worse, needless to say, for women. Especially women writing about blockbusters, women writing about superhero movies.
There you go.
Just the misogyny of the fan base. It just makes it so much worse for them.
Yeah, well, we know about that.
You do, and I find myself surprisingly not as on the receiving end of that. I'm grateful that I haven't gotten too many racist reactions as I look back over the long arc of my career. I haven't gotten too many. I didn't very much like the new Black Widow movie.
Oh my God, how dare you! We gotta scrub that. We gotta scrub that. That's gone. Are you trying to get us canceled, Justin? Yeah,
I know. I didn't really hear a peep about that. It was fine. I think people kind of get it. But yeah, even though the Marvel, the DC, the warring comic book fan bases are legion and legendary, so. Sometimes you'll get an email from, not necessarily from the filmmaker, of course from readers who don't like your opinion of something. I found that from Hollywood filmmakers, very rarely there is a degree of just professionalism. They understand that this is how it works. So unless you write something extremely personal and nasty, which again I do try not to do, try to be balanced. It's usually pretty polite and understood.
I mean, I asked that because I remember one of the this is like maybe episode 20 or something of this podcast when Mike and I were just on my couch, and we Hassan Minhaj, a comedian, former correspondent of the Daily Show, he had released this stand-up special, kind of one-man show thing called Homecoming King, about his story of going to prom at his high school. Basically, the story is that he asked this white girl out. She said yes. He goes over to their house to take pictures, and her parents kicked him out and said, "Hey, I don't think it's a good idea if you go with our daughter because you're brown." Right? That's kind of the arc of the show, and it's very funny. And I remember reading a New York Times critique on it. and it was written by a white guy. And one of the critiques was he was saying, and I cannot eloquently word it in the New York Times style, but it was something along the lines of, "Isn't it unfortunate that Hassan spends an hour sort of berating things like cultural appropriation and racism and all that stuff, while he is copying the speaking and speech style of African Americans, because sometimes Hassan moves and maybe like does hand motions, maybe similar to black comedians, or sometimes the way they talk, or I don't know, black American jargon is, to me, American jargon, and it's every day. It's just changing. You can see that on TikTok.
Sure.
Our listeners notice everything from like "it's lit" to like "something AF." That all came from black teenagers, right? We all know that,
right?
Of course.
So and I remember Mike and I reading that, and we thought it was a weird critique because, and Mike, you said this. It was basically like this whole critique is saying, why can't you be white?
Why isn't he acting whiter? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, I always think about kind of, what is, I feel sometimes like when there's white people reviewing work of people of color. I mean, I know this more if it comes from an Asian American perspective, but like they're sort of like I understand they may be approaching it from a certain point of view, but I feel they're missing some context as to some of the work that Asian American artists do or Asian comedians do, or this whole thing that Hassan does. Could be a fair critique. I thought it was an unfair critique because it's more complicated than I wouldn't even say he's appropriating it, but I guess I wanted to ask you, Justin, sort of like, what are your thoughts on, if there's white reviewers reviewing work that people of color are doing, and again, I'm not saying that they can't review it, but they may be missing some context, or maybe they're judging it on a different sort of thing. I don't know. I'm not even sure what I'm really asking, but
totally. It's a whole. No, all of this. It's just a morass of issues along those lines. And I think about this a lot. It's really funny because I think it's a sign of just how much more I think about this. And maybe a lot of us think about this than, say, we did 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when I was just getting started, because, I never thought of myself as, Asian American, Chinese American, film critic, whatever. I mean, of course that was clear. And I mean, I knew that, people just looking at my byline would probably figure that out. It was never something that I wanted to kind of announce for myself, like saying, like, this is who I am. If I had to write the words, as an American critic, I mean, I have written those words exactly once because it was actually relevant to the subject at hand, but I just kind of cringed, so it was kind of I always felt that, like, oh yeah, I know that I occupy this kind of, as a POC critic, I know that I'm one of the rare ones, one of the whatever 13% or however many of in the field. But I always thought it was good to wear that lightly, to let it just kind of, to let that gently, subtly inform my work, rather than letting anyone come to any conclusions about, oh, I'm looking therefore at my work through that specific prism. But to get to your question, it's like, yeah, I mean, there's been a huge conversation lately about how we need more diverse critics in every kind, in terms of with sexual orientation, with gender, with race, with regard to more critics with disabilities. That there just needs to be. We need to broaden that enormously, and baby steps have been taken, but we're still very much just in the middle of that. And gosh, we were, very recently with the movie In the Heights that came out, where I felt, and I have to say, I feel like for me, it's like, okay, I don't want to be just confined to writing only about, say, Asian or Asian American movies, because that's who I am. I always thought, I want to write about a wide range. I think everyone should be able to write about a wide range of movies or of TV shows or whatever you're reviewing. But I have to say, I felt like, yeah, this is, In the Heights is, about Latino people and Afro-Latino people, although that's been a huge source of controversy with that movie, the colorism debate over that, which I think a lot of people, it's like, and again, only reinforced the idea that yeah, it's great to have a diverse pool of critics.
Yeah.
Not that you only want any one group of people weighing in on something, but the more there are, well, you just get a whole range. And I think that one of the great things I think about criticism is just the plurality of opinions, the pluralism of them. I don't believe in any one right opinion about something. I feel like one thing that helps me to de-stress when I'm thinking about what I'm putting out into the world is thinking, I am just one voice of many. I am not writing the definitive anything on anything. So, but yes, the short answer to your question is, yeah, absolutely. I do think that there are a lot of unfortunate assumptions that get made when say, if white men are dominating the critical conversation on something, and that's definitely something that, and it's hard because criticism is it's I'm one of the few people I think fortunate enough to be able to make a full-time have a full-time job as a critic. I think a lot of some of the best critics today are writing are freelancing and for many outlets or for one outlet, and it's just so there are just not enough jobs even to go around. So and so I feel extremely grateful and blessed to have the job that I do. I feel enormously fortunate and actually quite privileged, I have to say, to use that word. I actually do. So
the P word. I like it.
Let me ask you something. Do you guys ever sign up for a subscription, free trial kind of thing, and you forget to cancel and they keep charging you over and over again, and you forget, and it's been like 6 months and you've paid like $8,000 on OnlyFans? Has that ever happened to you, or is that just me? If you're like me and you have a lot of naughty subscriptions that you're not keeping track of, what you need to do to take control of your finances is to get TruBill. TruBill is the new app that helps you identify and stop paying for subscriptions you don't need, want, or simply forgot about. On average, people save up to $720 a year with TruBill. Because companies make subscriptions hard to cancel, TruBill makes it incredibly simple. Just link your accounts and TruBill will cancel your unwanted subscriptions in one tap. And your TruBill concierge is there when you need them to cancel unwanted subscriptions, so you don't have to. I love TruBill. It saved me so much money. I don't want to tell you how much on OnlyFans and Pornhub Premium and all these kinds of things that I'm subscribing to that I keep forgetting about that I sign up for when I'm horny. So I totally recommend it. TruBill has over 2 million users and helped save them over $100 million. Like Matthew B., who says, in a matter of seconds, I have saved $660 for the year on my DirecTV bill, saved $120 for the year on my SiriusXM bill, saved $840 a year on my car insurance. Don't fall for subscription scams. Start canceling today at TruBill.com/Asian. Go right now, TruBill.com/Asian. It could save you thousands a year. TruBill.com/Asian. This summer, it's been easier than ever to drop our personal care routines, but with your personalized grooming kit from Hawthorne, it's easy to stay on track. Hawthorne is a premium grooming brand that tailors your personal care routine to your unique profile. First, you take their quiz. They ask me things like, what kind of hair I have, how do I feel about sweat, what do you care most about in your deodorant? These are the big questions in life, and that's the kind of stuff that they take into their algorithm and figure out what kind of stuff you need. It was actually really fun, and at the end, I got the essential bundle with all my products tailored to my body type and lifestyle. And what is my body type and lifestyle? It's slim and horny. The products I got were face moisturizer. It's not just for horny people, but it definitely works on horny skin. Hawthorne takes the risk out of shopping for personal care by giving you free shipping on your order and returns. With their subscription options personalized to your usage, Hawthorne makes sure you never run out of your essentials. Life is complicated. Hawthorne keeps it simple with a short study-backed quiz that matches you with your perfect grooming kit. Looking your best has never been easier. Take Hawthorne's quiz today and get started on your personalized self-care routine by going to hawthorne.co and use promo code NOTAsian to get 10% off your first purchase. That's HAWTHORNE.co, promo code NOTAsian. Hawthorne.co, promo code NOTAsian.
You say you don't want to be the definitive voice on, any one thing, but we're going to make you do that because we're going to talk about Asian movies now. We're going to talk about Asian American movies. Fumi and I, we always talk about how we're in the Asian wave, right? And it's like you can kind of think of it as before Crazy Rich Asians and after Crazy Rich Asians. And I know that's like a very huge oversimplification, but we always say, hey, there's an Asian wave and all these things, and we're seeing these great movies and filmmakers, and we're seeing more Asian faces on screen. And I just wanted to see, like, if do you see this as like, do you connect the dots with this and say that there's do you feel that there's a narrative as far as the Asian film industry or representation? Like, is there something that you can that you can point to that says, hey, you know what, there is progress here? Because Fumi and I are always saying like, hey, the thing with waves is they always crash, and I'm always like, I'm waiting for that. I'm always afraid of that. But I don't know if you ever kind of like take a step back and say, hey, you know what, I can connect the dots and tell this kind of story. Or do you feel like, hey, we're kind of too early for that? Or do you feel like, hey, you know what, these are, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think that, I don't know if I can connect the dots and tell a whole narrative at this point. I think that there's a reason to be optimistic. I mean, it's very funny because when Crazy Rich Asians came out, of course, it had been like, more than 20 years or whatever since the Joy Luck Club, and the Joy Luck Club was supposed to, also augur great, usher in a new renaissance in that movie, by the way, which kind of came out around the time we were first, meeting up and getting to know each other. So it's funny, you see how long it takes, how promise is not realized. And
we'll have you back on the podcast in 20 years, bro. Don't worry.
20 years, exactly. No. I mean, obviously, I think that, Crazy Rich Asians, a movie I enjoy very much and think, did absolutely served its purpose and was actually better than a lot of the romantic comedies that had come out of Hollywood, a genre, an important genre that I feel like Hollywood has just sort of given up on.
Right.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I should watch more, but that's just my perspective. So, and you have filmmakers like John Chu on that movie who directed In the Heights. And I think that's great because I don't think that Asian filmmakers should just direct movies about Asian people. Likewise, I think I would love to see, a Latino director direct a movie about Asian people. I would just I'm all in favor of mixing. I'm all in favor of I believe that is the more kind of interesting combinations of things, the less we're going to have to just track, okay, this doing that. It's just going to become such a wonderful intermixed kind of jumble of culture.
Dude. Yep. Gangbang of cultures. That's what I call it.
Absolutely. And we won't even have to, we won't have to count these things anymore. And it'll just be it'll be wonderful. But, you have directors like Justin Lin doing Fast and Furious movies. You have James Wan, who is this great horror director doing tons of, so in terms of the directors, on the director side, I think there is some room to be encouraged. I mean, we just, we also, thinking about narratives, Chloe Zhao, a Chinese-born director who just won Best Director for Nomadland very deservedly. And the first, only the second woman ever to win Best Director in the history of the Academy Awards, and the first Asian woman. So that is very encouraging. And she's doing, she's got a Marvel movie coming out. Sometimes it bothers me, and to go back to the whole Marvel, it bothered, one thing that critics rail against a lot is just the endless proliferation of superhero movies.
Yes,
not that
there's so many
movies, but they crowd everything out. I mean, that is literally
so much
all Hollywood cares about.
Right.
That is the only thing they're investing in. And it's sad because you'll have some really hot new director coming out of Sundance or a festival or something, and they're handed the keys to the kingdom, and the keys are, you get to make a Marvel movie.
That's always,
or you get to do a Marvel TV show or whatever it is. It's just like, and that's great. And it's heartening to see diverse directors getting those opportunities. But God, I wish that they were doing something else, that they were doing, where have the mid-budget movies gone? Where have the thinking grown-ups, adult dramas gone? Where it's like it truly is from 0 to 60. It's like there's no in between. I think that's unfortunate.
It does seem crazy, and that I feel like I had a TikTok about this where when it comes to Asian American stories, this is kind of like somewhat related, but we want to see these kind of like richer characters, richer stories, and this kind of cultural gangbang like we were talking about. And instead, Hollywood kind of goes, oh, you mean you want another movie about ninjas? How about that? That's like that's always what I feel is, and because all these resources are being put into Marvel stuff, like it does feel like if you're going to be an actor or a writer or something like that, the brass ring is to just make the Marvel movie, because then you're getting paid, boom, and then you don't have room for anything else, because like Kumail, right? Like he was doing all these little fun little things, and then he got ripped, and like he just gets sucked up right into the thing. I want that. We need that guy to get fat again. We need him to just like chill and make a funny, goofy movie. So it
absolutely,
It's crazy times, man. I don't know.
Do you have any thoughts about like this is something we talk about a lot on this podcast, but you know, when Mike was saying like, oh, you know, Asian Americans, so do you mean ninja movies? We also feel like with a lot of times Hollywood, I think Andrew T said this, he was a writer in LA. He was saying a lot of times Hollywood groups in Asian Americans with just like straight up Chinese consumers in China with a lot of money.
Oh yeah.
And so they may have more power because there's more of them over there, and that's where the money's at right now. And so like, you know, me, you, and Mike, you know, I want to see like an Asian super bad. But
yeah,
that's not really gonna fly in Beijing, you know.
Right.
They wanna see some sort of you know, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon shit maybe. They like that kind of stuff where they really amplify like really beautiful Chinese authentic culture shit or whatever, which like means nothing to me. Really, I mean not nothing, but it's like I'm not even Chinese and I didn't grow up. You know what I mean? So like it's different. Even for Chinese American friends, I'm not sure if that means. I think an Asian superbad might be our version of the Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon that we need.
It's true. I mean, and also just, you know, comedy is so hard to import too. I mean, that's the generalization anyway. Yeah. Comedy doesn't travel well. And there is such a, no, it's very true. I find, I have so many thoughts on this because it's like obviously the difference between the Asian audience and the Asian American audience, those are already such huge non-monolithic groups to begin with. And I find this too in my, it's like I'll just say this. Sometimes, you know, I don't watch nearly enough, but I always try to keep up with movies that are being made in Asia and coming out, you know, from, you know, Korean cinema is some of the most exciting in particular. And, you know, I mean, it's like, I mean, you know, even just Bong Joon-ho, you know, who recently, you know, who had a huge success with Parasite, all this stuff. I mean, even before that, I was, you know, part of my work as a critic is I'm always trying to write about movies that are made outside the US for my readers. It's like, and I have to, you know, one of the expectations of my job is, of course, that, you know, of course, I cover the big stuff that everyone here wants to read about. But it's kind of like a, you know, okay, 2 for you, 1 for me kind of thing. So if there's something I want to write about, and it's, you know, and that can be a very, you know, because people are paying attention, you know, people are, you know, I try to bring those gems to light. I guess that's part of that's another reason why I think what I do or what we do as critics has value, because we are trying to, the joy of this job is not in punishing and ripping apart. I mean, there can be joy. I mean, I did just sit through Space Jam and New Legacy, and I hated it. So it was fun writing about that.
Just dunking on it. The only time an Asian dude can dunk on LeBron, just like boom, boom.
No, and I actually like LeBron as an actor. I mean, he was one of my favorite things in Trainwreck, that the Amy Schumer movie, that comedy.
Oh yeah, he was good in that.
I actually think he's. I mean, he was playing himself, you know, as he does in Space Jam. But I actually think he's got kind of a winning screen presence. But it's like, just that movie, he just doesn't. You know, in a lot of these big movies, they just, whoever's in them or whoever's making them, they just suck the life out of everything. And so it almost doesn't even matter if, say, an Asian person or a Latino director or a Black director or whoever was making that, it just kind of chokes, you know, there's no chance to actually express anything personal in these, you know, ginormous computer generated machines that they are. So, but to get back to the, you know, the whole, the difference, it's like, what I was just say that sometimes I find myself neglecting what's going on in the Asian American cinema scene, because I am actually really fascinated by, you know, what say Bong Joon-ho is directing, or Hirokazu Koreeda, you know, great Japanese filmmaker whom I love. And it's funny because those are not, you know, I grew up here in California. That was part of my development as a movie lover, is watching movies that were made in China, movies that were made in Japan, in Korea, in Thailand, you know, just all over. And it's like, it's not that I love those more than others, but that was actually kind of important that was, in terms of representation, kind of a cool thing. Oh, here's a country where these filmmakers do not experience discrimination, where they are the majority and they are free to make the movies. And it's actually something really beautiful about that. And I know over here, it's like, that's why, you know, Asian American voices are in a very, you know, they're, you know, it's much more difficult, obviously. And so, and I actually feel like I should kind of pay more attention to what's going on there and be more of an advocate, you know, while being honest. You know, I mean, it's, you know, it's not like it's my job to do that, but sometimes it's like a mix of, so championing what's going on here, but also sometimes I want to say, but have you guys actually seen the stuff that's coming out of Asia? It's really, really cool. Some of the coolest stuff that's being made anywhere. And
I agree with that. I mean, I remember I was watching some Ang Lee movie. I think it was Lust Caution. I watched Lust Caution.
Oh yeah,
I was horny.
I love that
a horny
movie.
Kid. Yeah, it's a good movie.
It's
a good movie too.
It's really funny because it is, and yet it's also really like coldly anti-erotic in a lot of ways too. Because it's like really, I love that movie. I have to say. Anyway, go on, please.
It's a great movie, and this is just like a small example, but like, I remember watching it, and who's the actor in it? I mean, he's amazing.
Tony Leung.
Oh my God, he's so good.
My favorite movie star. He's amazing.
He is so good, and I remember there's like it's set in like World War II. And it's about like this kind of like these Chinese spies trying to trying to assassinate a collaborator, right? And it's set in it's all beautiful, and it's like set in the 40s and everything like that. And then all the not all of them, but like the only white people that appear are background actors who are just like they don't have any lines. They're far away from the camera, and I'm like, oh, we could you could just have Asian people in the front too. I know that wasn't the point of the movie, but it was just something that for a second I was like, oh, well, okay. Like we don't have to listen from those guys' perspective. We can just listen to this really interesting story here from this amazing actor and this amazing actress and this amazing director. And I know they're not Asian American, but I thought it was just one of those things that like in my brain, I was like, it just like showed how kind of a little brainwashed I was about, wait a minute, we don't have to have it from this one view. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I mean, Ang Lee is someone who, I love many of his movies, not all of them, but I admire him so much. And he is, a cultural chameleon because he directed that. He directed Crouching Tiger, of course, which to Fumi's point earlier, by the way, that's a movie that was embraced in the US much more than it was in China.
Oh, it was?
Which was it's interesting, right? Because it's like, it's like they're over there. They're like, we already have enough martial arts. We have enough
that's
true. Why are you trying to sell this kind of Western friendly prestige version of this? But over here, of course, we lapped that up, and but Ang Lee, it's like he did Brokeback Mountain, he did a Hulk movie, he's done he's done a Civil War Western, he did Sense and Sensibility. I mean, his career is really kind of exemplary in terms of like I mean, and that's not every director has to be like that, of course, but there's something inspiring about that as well. Yeah.
Listen, Mike, you know me on the podcast, I like to laugh like an insane person, spread joy through jokes and inappropriate comments, but is that how I feel on the inside in 2020? Absolutely not, Mike.
No, man.
It's a dark mess in here, dude. Sometimes I'm really sad, sometimes I'm a little depressed, I'm really stressed, and I think a lot of people with the pandemic, they're not really sure about job security, and that's a huge source of stress for a lot of people. And I think if any of our listeners feel this way, they should check out our sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist.
Connect in a safe and private online environment. It's so convenient.
You can start communicating in under 24 hours.
This isn't self-help, it's professional counseling.
Send a message to your counselor anytime.
You'll get timely and thoughtful responses, plus you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions.
Woo! All without ever having to sit in an uncomfortable waiting room. You know how those waiting rooms can be, bro.
BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches, so they make it easy and free to change counselors if you need it.
And it's more affordable than traditional offline counseling, and financial aid is available.
Licensed professional counselors who specialize in depression, stress, anxiety, relationships, sleeping, trauma, anger, family conflicts, LGBT matters, grief, and self-esteem.
I want you to start living a happier life today. As a listener, you'll get 10% off your first month by visiting our sponsor at betterhelp.com/Asian. Join over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health. Again, that's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Asian.
Has there been a movie where your opinion of it is like completely opposite of everyone else's? I remember once we had this conversation. This was like this is a while ago, but we were at like I think you were actually at my aunt's house, and we were all hanging out, and we started talking about La La Land, and I was like, I thought it was just so okay, and you're like, yeah, it was just okay, and then you just were dropping mad knowledge on me because I was just like, I didn't like it because I didn't like the dancing, man. But then you were like talking about, oh yeah, well it's about amateurism and all these things and all this stuff, and I was like, whoa, this is like so crazy. But I remember at the time everybody was loving it, and I was like, it's fine. It was entertaining, but that was it. But has there been movies? Yeah, go ahead.
No. It's kind of funny because I like La La Land a lot actually, but that movie went through so many waves of like when something is received as like, oh my god, this is so great, and then you can call it a backlash that sets in. Maybe it's not a backlash. It's just as more people see it, it just cycles through, and you get something that was kind of beloved at first becomes very polarizing. And so and it's like, do I think, I don't think it's the greatest thing ever. But it's not the worst thing ever either. Yeah, but I mean, it's funny because I get this question: is there something where? Yeah. And I always wish I had a more interesting answer because I'm sure it exists.
Actually you love Boss Baby 1? You were just like a huge Boss Baby.
There's also a question, the question of like, is it where I am against the critical majority on something, or am I against the audience majority? Because sometimes those things are different.
Either one. I want to start beef. Okay, let's start some beef, Twitter beef.
I mean, some Twitter beef. Oh my god. I mean, there's always this thing where, like, I try not to make too much of the whole critic audience divide necessarily, because I always think like, look, I am a moviegoer. I am part of the audience. I am just, I am just maybe a more, I just do this professionally, but that doesn't make me so different from whatever Joe Popcorn or whatever. So
Joe Popcorn.
I think that there is this thing where like, people often invoke like the Forrest Gumps or even the Shawshank Redemptions of the world, where audiences perhaps like those movies more than critics do. But I'm trying to think of the one.
Wait, do critics not like Shawshank Redemption?
Some do.
Whoa.
Some do. More so than Forrest Gump, but I don't. Yeah. I do not much care for the Shawshank Redemption.
Whoa! I didn't know that. Oh my god!
I find it really. No, I'm a non-fan.
Well, wow.
Again, I haven't seen that one in 2 decades either. So maybe.
But how come? But like, what was
better.
it? I mean, what was it about it?
I just find it really. I don't know. I just find it this really sentimental kind of prettification of like the of like prison life. I just find it really. Oh god, why did I bring that up? Because it's like I haven't seen it recently enough to have. It's not like I don't have my knives out against it. I don't hate it. I'm just not. It just kind of left me,
No, yeah,
but it's not. It is. Yeah, I just don't agree with the IMDb users who are like where it's been like #1 for like the past years or whatever. So,
fair enough.
But I don't have knives out for it or anything. But but it's one where I'm maybe where a lot of critics are maybe out of step with the general consensus of things. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're gonna get some Twitter hate about that. So, us, because we're at Asian Not Asian, we're only about Shawshank Redemption, as we all know.
And we are back with everybody's favorite segment. It is Das Race News. This one happened a couple of weeks ago. I didn't even know that. I knew the Euro Cup was happening. I knew it was a big deal. Yeah. My boss is British. She wouldn't stop talking about it when it was happening, like the preliminary, the first round and 2 rounds or whatever. And I heard that England had lost, and I was like, okay, cool. Didn't really hear much about it. And then I saw something on Twitter about how there was a lot of I don't know. I don't follow soccer, but I was reading a lot of stuff on Twitter about how the 3 players who missed the shot, the PK shot, penalty kicks. They were not white; they were black or mixed, or they're brown people. One was like a Nigerian player, I think, and they were getting a lot of racist comments on the internet for being black, saying that they suck because they're black or go back to our country. So that's a quick summary from our article online. Sunday night marked a moment of national heartbreak among England's football fans as the country's squad came close to winning its first major international tournament in over half a century before losing on a penalty shootout to Italy. It also marked another ugly incident of racism on social media, with some supporters hurling all their anger and frustration at the 3 players who had missed their penalty kicks, all of whom happened to be black. And I found one of the players' Instagram comments, and I mean, dude, this shit gets wild, bro. There's like monkey emojis on there. Get out of my country. Go back to Nigeria. You've been god awful.
Yeah.
And I don't know a lot about soccer. One of the guys I'm traveling with is a huge soccer fan, and he gave me some context. Yeah. He was like, well, first of all, like they're all like 19. Okay, these are like 19,
They're
20.
like little kids, real young kids. Yeah.
And he was like, "Do you understand what it takes to be a like sort of a first string soccer player for the England national team?
Yeah.
Like this is not like some." You don't just get in because your daddy had a team or whatever. Like they like travel all around the country, the world, finding the best soccer players, and he's played for their like youth teams and all that stuff. And so that was he was kind of it's obviously very ridiculous to blame something like this on somebody's race. But I think the thing I kind of want to talk about is a quote from, I don't even know if this is a coach or something, but in this article, somebody wrote, "The old expression is for black soccer players is that you are English when you win and you are black when you lose." And I feel like that's something you and I have sort of experienced, in comedy a lot of times, with bookers or industries. If we're killing it, they love us. They're like, "Oh, this is the greatest thing ever." The second we start bombing or failing or our project doesn't go through, I think we do get reduced to a race. We go, "Well, I don't think Asian stories make sense right now." It's like it goes from 100 to 0 in like a second. And I really related to this sentiment here. So I just kind of want to open it up with you guys, and maybe Justin, you could tell us, like, I don't know how familiar you are with soccer or what's happening right now, but just kind of would love to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I follow soccer even less than you do probably, but I was reading about that, of course, and also it first came to my attention because I think people were saying like, "Oh, how come the royal family can call out racism in soccer but not in their own ranks?"
Yeah.
But that's a tangent. I thought that was, but no, it's true. I mean, I think that to drag it up to my side of things, or to our side of things in the entertainment industry, as you were saying, for me, it's like, we are just not allowed to fail in a way that white people are allowed to fail. I mean, it's simple as that. I mean, there are no second chances. Because if you fail, it is absolutely attributed to your race rather than just, "Oh, you had a bad day." Whereas white people get endless numbers of bad days apparently. So
I think it's I mean, this is, so I have a bunch of buddies who are British, and they were like on pins and needles throughout this whole thing. And sort of larger context is like, this is like kind of more and more the way that the UK is looking. This football team was like looked more like what the UK looks like now. It's not just a bunch of it's not a bunch of just white dudes with bad teeth anymore, right? It's just like, it's all different kinds of folks. I think though that it's interesting because unlike in America, where there is supposed to be a hodgepodge of people, there's like definitely especially in England. This is England, not just the UK. This is in England. There's an English nationality. You know what I'm saying? We're English. We're white as fuck. We drink warm beer or whatever the fuck it is. And I think this expression, you're English when you win, you're black when you lose, is like perfect. Remember too that England hasn't gotten this far in international play like forever. They've just been terrible. Just like this is their jam is to lose. Okay, they were like the whoever. So I think people forget about all that. Like everybody was all about it. This is the furthest that they've ever gotten. They almost won, right? And they got down to penalty kicks, which is just like, I know it's kind of exciting for casual watchers, but it's I think very annoying because it's kind of luck. It really is. I don't think this is not it would be like if the NBA finals was decided by free throw shots. You know what I'm saying? Everybody gets 10 free throw shots. What the fuck is that? You're not even playing basketball anymore. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You're playing the penalty kicks is like the flip cup of soccer. Okay, it is like, so it's just crazy. And then of course, like, this nastiness comes out, which is
I think people forget, like, also like the coach put them in as the PK as designated, so which means they were good enough to be in the consideration. Like, people just throw all of that away. They put them in there because they have the best chances of making it. Another thing I want to talk about is the comments. Obviously, this is an extreme example, but it's like super racist, very hateful. But hey, you're a critic. In a weird way, internet trolling, internet comments is a form of criticism, in my opinion. I think it perhaps is. I mean, to be honest with you, like, I don't read a lot of film criticism pieces. Not because I don't know. I just like it doesn't really. I don't see it on my Instagram feed. That's really all it is. You know, though I don't got anything against film critics. I do a
Totally
great
fine.
job. But it's just not something I read
Sure.
on the reg. But I do read a lot of like tweets about like
Yeah.
Black Widow, and it's not funny. And like I mean, you brought up Black Widow earlier. I think it's just so funny how like I would say my criticism is I know the dad was supposed to be funny, and they picked like a fat guy
Oh,
to
yeah.
play it. It's the
Yeah.
dad from Stranger Things. But
David
again,
Harbour, yeah.
going back to why we don't have an Asian Superbad, I just think it's so ridiculous. Where like if you get an Asian guy on a Marvel movie or a black guy or an Indian guy, they're the hottest, best actors in the biz. But then like Scarlett Johansson's dad is just like just a fat white guy who can't fit into a thing, and it's like funny, you know. But we don't get to have like Bobby Lee's never gonna play a funny Asian dad.
Lee.
You know, like if he played Shang-Chi's dad, that would be hilarious.
That would be awesome.
But they're never
would be
gonna do
amazing.
that, you know. Yeah. So I don't know. I
No,
mean,
no.
yeah. Go ahead.
I mean, yeah, no, it's funny because, you know, I'm on social media, of course, and, you know, I don't usually, you know, because I am writing reviews and I try to, you know, it's like, I think there are qualitative differences. It's like, I think that, you know, people sometimes, you know, you can craft a very thoughtful Twitter thread or something, in which case I always say like, well, why not just write a piece and get it published if you can, you know, whatever. But it's like, but yes, in the main, I am like, you know, we're all just sort of screaming our film opinions on Twitter and elsewhere. And I'm, you know, I try not to do too much of that because I, again, don't have to, but yeah, but it's also part of the fun. I of course I love, I actually, you know, like lurking on tweets and seeing, you know, gauging the reactions. It's because which sometimes inform your own, but yeah, just, it's funny. With the soccer thing, it's like, I was reading this story about this study that they released, which is, you know, one of the interesting things is that in this past COVID year, you know, with sports being played without audiences, and they've noticed that, you know, players,
no racism,
no racism, and players, and I think but players of African descent apparently did like 3% better. And
Hilarious!
Wow, yes,
it's true. When you're not, you know, when people are not heckling you, when people are not doing,
when they're not being racist, you perform better. That's crazy.
Wow.
I mean, it's just like, it's actually really, yeah. There was this New York Times story I was just reading about this, where they also, because of, yeah. So
yeah, you heard it here first. Okay, Justin Chang is saying that there should be no fans. I get
No
it.
fans.
I
No
think
fans.
I can get behind this. No people. Fans are the worst. No, it's crazy.
It's just see as we go into the Olympics too.
As we go into the Olympics, no fans. There's gonna be no fans.
Spectator-free Olympics. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows what's gonna happen? Just one last question here, but you know, before we kind of close up shop here. I know we've talked about Marvel, you know, and they finally gave an Asian guy a Marvel movie, and we've talked about Simu Liu and how, you know, people are kind of already hating on him a little bit because, oh, you know, whatever, is he the right guy? Whatever, is he not hot enough or whatever the fuck it is, even though he's like flaming hot.
Yeah.
Are you as nervous as we are about, because we're like hinging on this? Okay, this better be awesome. I got to go watch it no matter what. You know, I know you're a film critic and you're very good at like not, you know, you have a lot of, I would call it journalism honor. You know, you're like, okay, this is who I am. This is what I have a lot of integrity. You know, which, hey, come on, get with the times, Justin. There is no such thing anymore. All right, let's just throw all the integrity out the window. All right, let's just have inflammatory tweets, and that's it. But you know, what are your thoughts on this movie? Do you feel like, okay, this is it?
You know, I'm looking forward to it as someone who is not a Marvel fan, you know, even not much of a fan of either of any of the various comic book factions or whatever. And that's not, you know, I could be. It's not like it would be an impediment to my job, but in general, it's just not what excites me. I think it's important. Obviously, I think it has cultural weight. Sometimes it's the only thing that people are paying attention to movie-wise, which again I think is unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously there's a lot writing on it, and I just think that so, you know, do I hope it's good? Sure, I do, but in the way that I always hope a movie is good, because I don't want to watch a bad movie. If it's not good, I don't think it's the end of the world. It's not going to crush me personally or anything. And in a way, I feel like it wouldn't be hard. I don't think it's going to be hard for me to write what I think about that movie, because the truth is sometimes you don't want to come across as just a mindless booster just because,
Yeah.
the thing I always really hate is like the idea that like, just because, if I were just an Asian American critic, therefore feeling seeming obligated to write a good review. It's like, no, I don't want that. So in a way, obviously I hope it's good. I hope, I don't know what my expectations are or anything. This is a big year for, I think, Asian fans of Marvel, because Chloe Zhao's The Eternals is coming out as well. So there's obviously the twofer of those, the 1-2 punch of those two movies is people are going to be watching that very closely and carefully. And as am I. I think it's interesting. I'm not disinterested at all, but I'm not going to be personally crushed if it's not the be all, because I don't know. I'm excited about other different kinds of movies.
Justin,
as
well, you know what I love about you. You bring dad critic energy into the room. Okay, you're like, listen, okay, I know I'm not gonna be sad if this is not good, but I will be disappointed in your performance. Okay, that's what I like. Okay, and that's actually worse. All right, I would be better if you just crushed me in the criticism. But no, Justin, thank you very much for doing the podcast. I hope you had fun.
This was so much fun, and it went by way too fast. Thank you guys for having me.
We'll have you back. It'll be great. When you want to eviscerate Shang-Chi, so it'll be good. I'm disappointed. Where can our fans find you and your work, Justin?
Thank you. They can read me at latimes.com, and they can also read me on at the NPR Fresh Air website. And I am on Twitter at Justin C. Chang.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. All right. So if you don't like his criticism, get at him on Twitter. That's his preferred medium. As always, you can find us on social media at Asian.AsianPod. I'm also on there at the Fumiabe. That's TheFumiabe.
And you can find me on Instagram at NicePantsBro.
And our we're doing another Hack City stand-up comedy show this month on the 28th Wednesday. I think this is coming out on the 26th, Monday 26th. So if you listen to this right now, 2 days from now, we are doing another stand-up comedy show that Mike and I produced together called Hack City at Canal Street Market in New York City at 8 p.m. Eastern. So get your tickets at the link in this episode.
It's the goodbye show. It's
the goodbye show. Yes, it's my last show in New York, really. So
it's gonna be a good one.
You gotta come out. Yep, it's gonna be. I'm gonna cry if you don't. So please come. I think that's it. I mean, obviously, leave a review. Join the Patreon at patreon.com/AsianPod, and I think that's it, right?
I think that's it. Well, thanks once again to our guest Justin Chang.
Cool. All right, Anals. We'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.